So, good evening. We are continuing our study of Swami Vivekananda's profound hymn, a Sanskrit hymn on Sri Ramakrishna, which we sing every evening here in this temple. It begins Om hrīṃ ṛtam, and of course it is the. Let's start with our opening prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitam Astu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May we acquire strength together. May our learning shine forth in our lives. May we not find fault with one another. Om, peace, peace, peace. So this hymn is part of a pair of hymns, actually, that Swami Vivekananda composed in 1898 in November for the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna as part of the evening service. Every evening they would sing these two hymns. First, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. Here in Hollywood, most of the time we only read an English translation of that. And then this Om hrīṃ ṛtam. And it has been said that, and we've already gone through Khandana Bhava Bandhana, in which the glory of Sri Ramakrishna is described as the breaker of the bondage of the world, and as a manifestation of the divine. In this hymn, we see that Sri Ramakrishna is presented as the refuge, and actually the song takes the attitude of one seeking refuge, one practicing the path of total surrender to the divine, recognizing one's inability to attain spiritual realization by one's own strength, by one's own ability. Therefore, one takes refuge, one seeks the grace of the divine. So it's really a hymn of profound love for Sri Ramakrishna, and a hymn of seeking grace, seeking divine grace, a hymn of realizing that we have no refuge in this world, and therefore our only refuge is in the divine. And at the same time, of course, it gives many hints as to Sri Ramakrishna's true nature. And in December 12th, I believe it was, we discussed the first verse of this tremendous hymn. So we won't go into that in depth, but we can just remind ourselves that the first hymn begins with the powerful mantra Om hrīṃ ṛtam, where Om represents Brahman, the Absolute. Ring is the Shakti Bija, which represents the Divine Mother. It represents the manifestation, this manifested universe. And Ṛtam represents the principle of harmony pervading the universe, the principle of truth, the principle of the moral order governing the universe. And so in these three words, he is describing Sri Ramakrishna as a manifestation of the infinite, a manifestation of divine harmony and moral law, and yet one who is still unchanged in his true nature, achala, the unmoving, who has conquered the gunas which make up this world and our experience in it, and is adored and loved for his tremendous good qualities. And if this is the case, if God is this, if the divine is as described here, then we would naturally be thinking of the Lord all the time and worshiping him all the time. But we're not doing that. So recognizing that, na bhaje yatoham, in as much as I have not worshipped you night and day. Therefore, tasmat tvam, thou art my only refuge, my sharanam eva. Eva means alone or only, my only refuge. O friend of the lowly, O friend of those who are suffering, who are distressed, who are people like us. Why are we suffering? Well, we have many causes of suffering, but in the context of this hymn, we are suffering because we are separated. We feel that we are separate from God. We do not know our true nature as infinite bliss. We do not constantly have the awareness of the divine shining in our hearts. So we suffer. That's the final and ultimate cause of our suffering, that we don't know who we are. Yes, Narayana.
What part of that last line, Tasmat Tvam Sharanam, is the "O friend of the lowly"?
Dina Bandho.
Of the lowly?
Dina Bandho. So Bandhu is friend, and Dina is lowly. And Dina Bandhu is the name of God, the one who is the friend of the lowly. And when it becomes Bandho, that's the evocative case ending, that means, O friend, in Sanskrit. You don't add an O in front of the word, you just, the ending changes in certain cases. So it becomes Bandho, O friend. So Dina Bandho, O friend of the lowly. Okay, so we are going to move on now to the second verse, because we discussed the first verse in depth last time. Second verse, and here we see again this wonderful poetry where alliteration, where the first line, bhaktir bhagascha bhajanam bhavabhedakari. So it's a bha line. Each word begins with bha. Bhaktir bhagascha bhajanam bhavabhedakari. Gacchantyalam suvipulam gamanaya tattvam. So let's first take this part. Here the singer, Swami Vivekananda in this case, and us, is saying, well, if we have bhakti, devotion, bhajanam, worship, and this bhagaha, which is a little bit of a complex term we'll get to, but the 6 spiritual qualities. If we have these qualities, then bhava bheda kari. These bring about the destruction, as it were, put an end to this world. Bhava bheda, they divide this world, break it apart so that we know the divine directly. Bhava bheda kari. Bheda is dividing, splitting, and bhava, this world, samsara, kari, that which does. It's doing that. So it's destroying samsara, and by purifying our minds, revealing the divine within us. And gachanti, this second line, gachanti alam suvipulam gamanaya tattvam. Suvipulam means the great, the supreme. Tattvam, truth. So suvipulam goes with tattvam, the supreme truth. Gamanaya, taking us to the supreme truth. Alam, enough. This is sufficient. This devotion, these 6 qualities, and worship, these are sufficient for the gachanti. They go to the suvipulam tattvam, the supreme truth. They are enough to take us to the supreme truth. So let's look a little bit at these terms that Swamiji presents as being enough for our spiritual life in the path of devotion. Bhakti, we call it devotion. Actually, true bhakti is not just, I have a good feeling about God. It means intense, one-pointed love, an uninterrupted flow of the mind, of the heart to the divine. So it suggests an intensity of feeling, a flow of the heart, a flow of the mind which is unbroken. We don't forget God at any time because we have real bhakti, we have real devotion. So we are striving to get devotion in our devotion, in the devotional path. Typically we say we are striving to get devotion. We don't actually have deep devotion, or we would always be thinking of God. Our mind would not veer from it. We would have this intense love for God. We love so many things. We love God maybe a little bit. We have so many other things which draw our love, draw our affection. When that intense devotion awakens, then all love is for God, and we realize that all love is for God. And when we love somebody else, we realize that that love is also actually love for God. So this is bhakti. Then bhagaha. Interesting that Swamiji uses this term because there are actually, it's from the Vishnu Purana, there are 6 qualities indicated by this term bhagaha. And the one who is Bhagavan is the one who has these 6 qualities. So we often say Bhagavan as a term for God, as a term for the Lord. We say Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. One who is Bhagavan is full of, when the Sanskrit word has that van at the end of it, it means one who is full of that, full of this bhaga, these 6 qualities. What are they? Aishwarya, sovereignty, lordship, supreme power. Virya, valor or prowess, heroism. Yashas, fame or glory. Shri, prosperity or beauty, this tremendous beauty. Shri, jnana, knowledge of the divine. And vairagya, detachment, renunciation. So these 6 qualities, there's actually a verse from the Vishnu Purana 6.5.74. It goes like this. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasa shriyaha jnana vairagyayoschaiva shannam bhaga itirana. So this 6 qualities, this shannam bhaga, is the Bhagavan is the one who has all these qualities to the highest degree. So I was thinking about this. How some of these qualities we can understand. Like obviously jnana and vairagya are essential in spiritual life. Jnana, true wisdom, of course, in the highest degree, we know our true nature as infinite consciousness and bliss. That is, then there's no question of reaching the supreme goal. That itself is reaching the same goal. That itself is the supreme goal, to know our true nature as one with the infinite. And vairagya, detachment, we know how this is essential in spiritual life. It's one of Sri Ramakrishna's fundamental teachings, to detach from all the entanglements of our lives and place all our attachment on the divine, on God. So virya, this valor or this prowess, this strength, this heroism, we can see how that also applies in spiritual life. Yes, if we are going to realize the truth, if we are going to cast aside all our fascination with temporal things and place our mind on the truth, it takes determination, it takes firmness, it takes a valor, a strength that, yes, I'm going to lead this life. I'm going to get up every day at 4 in the morning or at 5 in the morning and meditate for an hour. I'm going to do it every day. Yes, it takes that kind of virya. Aishwarya, this lordship, this supreme power, this idea, I take it in this context as meaning self-mastery. We want to attain lordship over ourselves, mastery of our own minds. And then this one, yashaha, yashas, this fame or glory. This is a little bit difficult to see how does this apply in our spiritual life. And Shri, this beauty, I just asked Swami Sarvadevanandaji about it. And one way we can take it, he suggested, is to spiritualize it, to understand that when we're talking about yasha, that glory, that we remember the glory of our own soul. We stand on the glory of our own true spiritual nature. And so that is very helpful in spiritual life when we remind ourselves of our own glory. Not that we want to be well known, that we want the fame exactly, more that we remind ourselves of our own glory. And Shri, that beauty, the divine is the source of all beauty. The infinite beauty of the divine is shining ever within us. So if we remember that, that also helps us in our spiritual life. And Swami Vivekananda does ask us to remind ourselves constantly who we are. To say, yes, I am pure, I am infinite, I am that infinite reality. Sri Ramakrishna would say, one who constantly says, I am weak, becomes weak. One who says, I am a sinner, becomes a sinner. One who says, I am a wretch, becomes a wretch. Rather say, what? I have chanted the name of God. How can sin still cling to me? So these kinds of ideas, I think, are embodied in this term, bhagaha. And again, when these qualities are manifest in full in a person, then we call that person Bhagavan. Full of these blessed qualities, we call the great spiritual teachers of the world, like Buddha and Jesus and Krishna, as what? As Bhagavan. We say Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Buddha, like that. So, and Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. So, bhajanam, worship. So we have bhaktir, bhagascha, bhajanam. These three are enough to, these destroy samsara and take us across to the supreme truth. But now we get the second half of the verse. Vaktro dhritopi ridime nachabhati kinchit. This line, actually, there are several different, slightly different versions, depending, because how Swami Vivekananda composed it, he composed it quickly. And then he asked his disciple Sharat Chandra to fix any grammatical errors. And there was an error, not a grammatical error, but the meter didn't quite work out in the way that probably he composed it, which was Vaktro dhritopi hridaye name bhati kinchit. It's the same meaning, but the meter is off, so it was changed. But what does it mean? Vaktra, this is interesting, because Vaktra plus Udhrita becomes Vaktrodhrita. Vaktra is the mouth or the lips, and Udhrita means arising. So that which is arising from the lips. Api, however, Hridhi me, in my heart, nacha bhati kinchit. It does not shine even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Kinchit, a little bit. Kinchit, kinchit, very little bit. Na kinchit, not even a little bit does it bhati, does it shine. Is it reflect? So sometimes it's translated, alas, though I speak these words with my lips, they find no echo in my heart. This is what Sri Ramakrishna used to call bhaver ghori churi, the theft in the chamber of the heart. That we say something with our lips, but it does not reflect in our hearts. This is a hypocrisy, actually. We say these things. We are saying that with devotion and these blessed qualities and worship, we can cross over. These are enough to take us to the supreme truth. But actually, we recognize that we don't have true, genuine, deep devotion. We don't have these blessed qualities. We don't have strong determination. We don't have renunciation. We don't have knowledge, even a little bit. We don't find it reflected here. It's not shining in our hearts. Tasmat, therefore, Tvam, thou alone are my refuge, O friend of the lowly.
I'm always taken aback by this evil dream called life. I don't feel that life is an evil dream, and I don't know if, Vivekananda sometimes said it was an evil dream.
Okay.
So
well,
does it say in here that it's an evil dream?
Okay, so this translation is the translation has been used here in Hollywood for a long time. I'm not a big fan of this translation. Bhava Bhedakari. Bhava means this world, and the translator of this, in this particular one, has translated bhava as this evil dream called life. So that's an opinion. That's one way of translating bhava.
Didn't actually say
No, there's nothing anywhere that says this evil dream called life. We should work on retranslating that maybe. It's delicate because Swami Prabhupananda's translation, so it's delicate to change it. But we can come up with some better understanding of this bhava bhedakari. Let's see. There's this I'll just read you the translation from Swami Harshananda is devotion, virtues like knowledge, and worship that can destroy samsara. These are more than enough to attain the supreme truth. Okay, that's a pretty literal translation which we just went through. These are more than enough to attain the supreme truth. Virtues like knowledge and the other virtues we discussed destroy samsara. Bhava bhedakari. Bheda means, as I mentioned, dividing, splitting, destroying. And kari is executing that. So bhedakari. What is destroyed? What is divided? Bhava, this world. In other words, samsara, the round of birth and death. So for some people that's considered evil because it's endless and we want to get out of it. So that may be why it was translated that way. Let me see how these translations, this translation here, it just was pointed out to me. This little book, Aratrika and Ramnam, is translated by Swami Tapasyananda. And he also translates the thing. So this is how he translates this line. Devotion, aspiration, and worship. He takes bhaga as aspiration. I think he takes a little bit of liberty to translate it that way. Devotion, aspiration, and worship, all breakers of worldly bondage, are indeed sufficient to take one to the supreme truth. While I talk much of these, my heart fails to reflect them even in the least. Therefore, thou art my sole refuge, O friend of the lowly and the lost. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell the story of the parrot, right? The people in India, they teach their parrots to chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Jai Ma Kali, Jai Ma Kali. They will teach their parrots to chant these kinds of things. But Sri Ramakrishna points out, what happens if a cat happens to catch the parrot? Does it chant Hare Krishna? No. It chants ka 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 ka. It's normal cawing sound. It doesn't chant the holy names if a cat catches it. So like that, here, this is the idea. Actually, though we're saying these words, but they haven't been deeply internalized. So that is what we try to do, is to deeply internalize these truths, to deeply internalize. You know, there was and I think I've told this story before, there was a Swami who was on a journey in a car somewhere going for relief in India, and they were fording a river, and the water was higher than they thought, and the car started getting swept away, and somehow they got across. It was really scary. And afterwards, someone asked him, so, Maharaj, were you thinking of God? Were you taking God's name? And he was stunned by the question, and he realized that he wasn't, that he hadn't been thinking of God. He was panicked to get out of this difficult situation, but God's name didn't come to his lips. Like people who are about to have a car crash, and what comes to their lips? Often 4-letter words come to their lips, right? Oh, XYZ, exclamation point, hashtag, whatever. That means the spiritual ideal has not deeply penetrated into the heart. If our spiritual ideal has deeply penetrated, when we're in deep trouble, the name of the Lord will come to our lips. The name of Divine Mother will come to our lips when we're in trouble. I know someone else who almost had in Vedanta, someone in Vedanta who has been practicing Vedanta for a long time, but when he almost had a car accident, what came to his lips was, "Oh, Jesus!" I thought that's interesting, because this country that is, the name of Jesus is used also in times of danger. People just naturally say it, not necessarily realizing. It was interesting. He said Jesus. He's been thinking of Ramakrishna for years, and still he said Jesus. What happened here? It doesn't matter. Jesus and Ramakrishna are one. Okay, but still very interesting. That was the thought that came to my mind, that maybe it was something like that. like, yeah, in the supermarket once, it was a kind of frightening moment when there was a mother with 2 children, and the little one was in the cart, the shopping cart, and the older one was sort of hanging on the cart on the side, playing on it, and it fell over. The cart fell over, and the little one fell on the ground, and its head hit the ground. And the mother screamed at the top of her voice, "Jesus Christ!" And I thought, hey, praise the Lord. And of course they brought some frozen peas or something, a bag of frozen peas, and put it on the kid's head. And it looked like he was okay, but I don't think she meant it as in, "Oh Lord, save me." I think it was more like a substitute for yes. So that is not what we mean by taking the name of the Lord. Here we want those ideals to go deep so that it's reflected in our hearts. So inasmuch as that hasn't happened yet, since we haven't got that, all these qualities, tasmat tameva sharanam, thou art my sole refuge, thou alone art my refuge. There's something very intimate about this song, and I don't know if we should call it a hymn, how to convey that, because we're addressing Sri Ramakrishna as ṛtam, as thou, actually, as a very close. He's our friend. He's our beloved, and there's an intimacy in these words which is perhaps difficult to convey in translation. All right, let's go to the 3rd verse, shall we? Tejas taranti tvaritam tvayi tripta trishna. This verse, of course, is the ta verse. Tejas taranti tvaritam tvayi tripta trishna. Rage krite, ragang krite ṛtapathe tvayi Ramakrishna. All right, this is beautiful. Tejas, though it means that which is shining, but in this case, it's referring to rajas, the rajas of this world, that which is fiery. Yes, it's a fiery world. Rajas, tejas, taranti, they cross. Taranti, this is the verb to cross. Tarati, tarataha, taranti, they cross. They cross this world. In other words, tejas, taranti, they cross the tejas, this rajasic world, tvaritam, quickly. In other versions, it's tarasa, same meaning, quickly. They quickly cross rajas and find themselves where? Tvayi, in you. And then with tripta trishnaha, all desires fulfilled, all desires stilled. Trishna is a thirst or a desire, and tripta is full, completely satisfied. Who gets all that? Ragang krite, those who follow the path, those who have attained devotion, those who have cultivated intense love for you, for tvayi, for you, in you, tvayi Ramakrishna, in Ram. This is the locative case ending, where Ramakrishna, in Ramakrishna. So in you, O Ramakrishna. And ṛtapathe. It's an interesting term because it can be interpreted as pathe, again, on the path of truth. But it can also be, so if we are ragang krite, those who are devoted to you, they are walking on the path to truth. They are walking on the true path. But it can also be applied to Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna, you yourself are both the truth, the ṛta, and the path, is another way of interpreting this line, which is beautiful. Ragang krite, those who cultivate that intense attachment. Ragaha is attachment. It can be here referring to love, devotion for the Lord. That path of intense love, having cultivated, krite, having done. So ragang krite, having cultivated intense love, intense attachment for you. So Ramakrishna used to say, turn your attachments towards God. We have so many attachments. Just give them a Godward turn. Ragang krite ṛtapate. In you who are the truth and the path also. If we can do that, Ragang krite ṛtapate tvai Ramakrishne, we will tejas taranti tvai ṛtam, quickly cross over this world, this rajasic world, and attain complete and perfect peace. Why do we not have peace? Because our minds are burning with desires. We have so many desires. I want this and I want that. And no sooner does one desire, you cut it down, and the next day a new sprout has sprouted up. You know, we had that sycamore tree outside the monastery, and it was roots coming up. It's a very old tree, a deep root system. So it puts up the new shoots. And a few times we had those cut off also. And again, they come up. So it looks nice, so we're leaving it for a little while. But the desires are also like that. They keep you cut them, and you fulfill them, and another one crops up. I'll be peaceful when? No, I'll be peaceful when I get my PhD. I'll be peaceful when I find a spouse. I'll be peaceful when I get a promotion at work. I'll be peaceful when I have my own house. But there's always something more. There's always something more. I'll be peaceful when I become a Swami. See, for so many years I was a brahmachari and still not feeling. When I become Swami, then I'll feel peace. Just changing the color of the clothes doesn't bring peace. It's inside. How do we attain peace? When those desires are all completely fulfilled. But how can they be fulfilled? They can't be fulfilled. They can only be stilled. And they're stilled when we touch the divine, when we realize that we are perfect and complete, when we realize that our true nature is one with infinite love and infinite bliss. So that is how, tvai, in you, all our desires are fulfilled. Why? Because you are pure love, you are infinite love, you are infinite bliss, you are perfection itself, you are complete. So, tejas taranti tvai ṛtam tvai tripta trishnaha ragang krite ṛtapate tvai Ramakrishna. This idea of, here clearly Swami Vivekananda is presenting to us the path of devotion to Sri Ramakrishna as a path for spiritual realization. And then this third line of the verse is also beautiful. Martyam ṛtam tava padam. Martya means this mortal. Martya is mortal. Mrityu is death. Martya is mortal, the world of mortals. Martya refers in this case to this world of mortals. And amritam, the word amritam is fascinating because it means so amritam, deathless. It also means nectar. Amritam we call it the nectar, related I think to the word ambrosia. You can hear a little bit that commonality, ambrosia, the nectar of immortality. Amritam. Martyamritam. So this world of mortals becomes amrita, becomes immortal. We taste it as nectar when we, how? By the grace of tava padam, by the grace of your feet. We have, again, this idea of feet, which come in both the first hymn, Karana Mahayogananda, and in this hymn already in the first verse, we had it, this Naktam divam sakarunam tava pada padmam. Your lotus, I have not worshipped your lotus, your blessed lotus feet day and night. And here, your feet, tava padam, bring immortality into the world of mortals. Convert this mortal world into amrita, nectar, the nectar of immortality. And maranormi nasham, this is very powerful. Maranaha, again, death. Urmi, waves, the waves of death. Nasham, Nasha is destruction, or also, in this case, we can say still the waves of death. So Maranormi Nasham means your feet still the waves of death. Destroy the urmis, the waves of marana, death. How beautiful. Tasmat, therefore, Tameva Sharanam, thou art my only refuge, my only shelter. Mamadina Bandhu, O friend of the lowly. About this feat, I wanted to read a little reminiscence of one of Swami Vivekananda's disciples, Surendranath Dasgupta. Surendranath was praising Swami Vivekananda, how his words are so great, his teachings are so great. And Swami Vivekananda, with characteristic humility, he says something like only that, see, I have met many great souls in my life, and I only share what I have learned from them, what I have imbibed from these great souls. Do not, and then he tells him, do not think that I myself am something great. And then Surendranath says, but we look upon you, Swamiji, as one who has realized God. And the language he uses that you are one who has attained Bhagavan, attained the Lord. Amra monekori apni Bhagavan ke pechen. You have Bhagavan, you have attained pechen, you have attained the Bhagavan, the Lord, the realized God, in other words. And then there was a complete transformation in Swami Vivekananda. And he writes, no sooner did I say these words than those fascinating eyes of his were filled with tears. And he, with a heart overflowing with love, softly and gently spoke. At those blessed feet is the perfection of knowledge sought by the jnanis. At those blessed feet also is the fulfillment of love sought by the lovers. Oh, say, where else will men and women go for refuge but to those blessed feet? So it's a beautiful expression of his inmost feeling of the feet, the blessed feet of the Lord. So he puts that in this hymn also, that the blessed feet of the Lord are our refuge. And at those blessed feet is the perfection of knowledge, which those who seek jnana, they will find the perfection of jnana at those Shri Charane, at those blessed feet. And at those Shri Charane, those blessed feet, also is that supreme prema, that supreme love sought by the bhaktas. And where else will we go? And it specifically in the Bengali also is mentioned the men and women, naranari. The men and women, where will they go for refuge? But to those blessed feet, that is our one refuge. That is our one place of refuge. And interesting, he closes this conversation with another very moving expression of faith. He said, after a while, he says, alas, what folly for men in this world to spend their days fighting and quarreling with one another as they do. But how long can they go on in that way? In the evening, they must all come home to the arms of the mother. Yes, in the evening of life, when the curtain falls on this play, where will we go? To the arms of the mother, or to those blessed feet. All right, looks like we can finish the hymn today. We're going to go on to verse 4. If there's no questions about verse 3, we're going to go on to verse 4. Ready? Krityang karoti kalusham kuhakantakari shnantam shivam suvimalam tavanamanatha yasmadaham asharano jagadeka gamya tasmat tvameva sharanam mamadina bandho. Okay, here the last line is a ka line. Krityang karoti kalusham kuhakantakari. A lot of kas there. It's beautiful. This verse, this fourth verse, Swami Vivekananda is preaching the name, the spiritual name, as a powerful vehicle for transforming our life and taking us across this world to divine perfection. The name of, specifically, the name of Ramakrishna. We forget this sometimes. We sing the words, but actually, right here, he's proclaiming the name of Ramakrishna as a saving power. And what does he say about it? He says, Tava nama nata. Tava, your nama, name, nata, O Lord. This is the Sambodhana Vajanam, the vocative case ending, nata, O Lord. Tava nama, your name. What does your name do? What is your name? Your name is Shnantam. Your name ends in Shna, Ramakrishna. So your name is Shnantam, and it is Shivam. It is most auspicious. It is utterly pure. Suvimalam. Vimalam means pure. Suvimalam means pure to the extreme degree. Your name is Suvimalam, and it is Shivam, most auspicious, O Lord. And what happens when we chant your name? Krityang karoti kalusham. Kalusham is sin or dirt. And krityam means that, actually it means literally that which is to be done, that which ought to be done. So a good thing. So it turns our karoti, converts, does, converts kalusham into krityam, converts a wicked deed into a good deed. How is that possible? The Lord's name converts our sins into merits. How is that possible? That's why I think in the line, the translation here, it says, those who chant your name become saints, even though they be sinners, something like that. What does it say in this translation? Yeah, he who chants your name become a saint, though he be a sinner. Well, something like that. That's not quite a literal translation. Let's see, how does Swami Harshananda translates it? Purifies even an evil deed. Okay. And finally, kuhakantakari. This is the one who, the kuhaka is Maya, the wily one, which cheats us, the cheater. The kuhaka, and anta means end. As we know, Vedanta and shnantam, ending in shna, here, antakari brings an end to. So in other words, brings an end to Maya and turns wicked deeds into good ones. Now, this reminds me of Holy Mother's teaching of chanting the name, right? That it destroys, or at least attenuates to a great degree, the effects of karma. She used to say, japa does this. Suppose someone was due to get a wound the width of a plowshare. That's a big wound. You can't entirely escape the effect of your karma. But if you do a lot of japa, you can reduce it, so you'll have to get a pinprick. You'll have to get a pinprick still, but you won't get that wound the width of a plowshare, which would probably kill you. Pinprick still must be felt. It is the avatar who can alter destiny. Here Sri Ramakrishna is here Swami Vivekananda is suggesting that even the name of the avatar has that power to purify us, to transform our karma, because we have all done things which we know were not the most noble character. If we think back to this life, and who knows in previous lives how many wicked things we did, but Your name has that tremendous purifying power. And this is something that is fundamental in all the devotional paths in Hinduism and Vedanta. And of course, the Vaishnavas emphasize also very much the saving power of the name. And we recite here every morning that beautiful hymn of Sri Chaitanya, chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly. What? Why? That the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean. Our heart is likened to a mirror, and in that mirror we see the reflection of the divine. However, that mirror is covered with dust and dirt. What is the dust and dirt? All our craziness, all our desires, all the bad things we've done, all the negative thoughts that we have, all these things are the dust covering the mirror of the heart. So we don't see the reflection of the divine in the heart because it's covered with dust. But chanting the name continually, what does it do? It polishes that heart, that mirror, so that the dust is removed. Have you ever seen a really old mirror, like in an antique shop or something, and it wasn't cleaned for many decades perhaps? And you can't just take a dusting cloth and wipe it off. It's still dirty. You have to rub it. You have to really rub it. Maybe use some special glass polish and polish it and polish it and polish it. And gradually it starts to shine, and we get to start to see the divine reflection. So like that, we go on repeating the name, and we have so many grooves in our mind, like the grooves of a record. And so we follow all these different grooves, but gradually we make one groove deeper. I mean, that's the groove of the repetition of the name. And the name, they're not different, they're not separate. So as we go on repeating the name, that mirror gets polished, and the mind starts to fall into that same groove of the holy name, and it takes us right to the Lord, because the Lord and his name are not different. So interesting that in this verse, Swami Vivekananda actually proclaims the name of Ramakrishna as that which can put an end to Maya and convert all our bad karma into good karma and bring us to the Lord himself. Yasmat aham asharano jagadeka gamya. Yasmat, inasmuch as. Yasmat tasmat, it goes together. Inasmuch as, therefore. Yasmat tasmat. Yasmat, inasmuch as, aham, I, asharanaha, I am without refuge. The before a word, it negates it. So we have sharanam is the refuge. Asharanam, without refuge. There is no refuge. Yasmadaham, inasmuch as I am asharanaha here in this world. And then he coins one more name of Sri Ramakrishna. He calls him Jagad Eka Gamya. This is again in the vocative case ending. O Jagad, world, Eka, single, soul, Gamya, goal. O single goal of this world. So the divine is the ultimate goal of all of us. We have from Brahman we have come, to Brahman we shall return. That is our ultimate goal, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. We are all the rivers are flowing to the ocean. And some have a very long and circuitous route, and some have a more direct route. So we are now on the path of taking the direct route to the ocean. So we recognize that here, at least in this world, there is no refuge. Sometimes these events, like these fires which we've had are having still in Los Angeles, are a good reminder of that. There are people who had just minutes to leave their homes and leave everything. Our home is like our refuge, our castle, right? People place a great amount of importance on home. In all cultures, the home is a sacred place where we raise our families, where we live, where we are safe. And if we're homeless, that's a condition of distress. We don't have a home. We don't have a place to lay our heads. We don't have a place to sleep and be safe and warm and protected. And when But all of that can be taken away in a moment. So this, in this hymn, we remember that and recognize that actually, though we think we have a home, actually we have no home here. We have no refuge here. It can all be taken away in the blink of an eye. And we actually have only one refuge. We have only one goal. The goal of all the world is you. You are the sole goal of all. And I have no refuge here. Therefore, thou alone art my refuge, O friend of the lowly. Let's see if Swami Harshananda has anything interesting to say about this. He says, this first line, Krityam karoti kalusham, the name purifies even an evil deed. Poison can be neutralized by its antidote. Similarly, God's name can offset the effect of evil deeds. Better still, like a proverbial philosopher's stone, which transforms base metal into gold, or the river Ganga, which makes even dirty water holy when it mingles with it, or fire that burns up all dirt, the name of God can convert the bad effects of evil deeds into good ones. So, this is the fourth verse. Now, I don't think I had mentioned before, and probably many of you may know this, but some of you may not know this, that in this hymn also is embedded a mantra. And the hint that that's the case is this fourth verse, second line, Shnantam. Why would Swami Vivekananda specifically suggest that Sri Ramakrishna's name is ending in Shna? Why is that important? Well, it's because we take the first syllable of the first three lines of each verse and put them together. And what do we get? We have Om ṛtam. So the first syllable is Om. Second line is Naktam Divam, Na. So we say Om, Na. Third line is Mohankasham, Mo. So we take these first three syllables, we have Om, Namo. Then we jump to the second verse. Bhaktir Bhagasya, Bha. Vaktro Dhritopi, Va. Gachantilam, Ga. So we have Om Namo Bhagava. Go jump to the third verse. Tejas Taranti. Om Namo Bhagavate. Then Ragam Krite, Ra. Martyam ṛtam, Ma. Jump to the fourth verse. Krityam karoti, Kri. Then Shnantam, Shna. And then last, Yasmad, Ya. So we have this mantra embedded in this hymn, Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. So Swami Vivekananda, in addition to proclaiming the glory of the name Ramakrishna in the fourth verse, also has embedded his name in the hymn. So that's a, very tricky. So it's that is an additional amazing thing about this hymn.
Did he tell people, or did someone figure this out?
That I don't know. Oh. Probably he may not have mentioned it, but obviously obviously he started with that and then composed the hymn in that
really
way.
Amazing.
It's remarkable. It's called a Dvadasha Akshari, Dvadasha Akshari, a 12-syllabled mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Again, emphasizing the name and emphasizing this idea of worship, Namo. The very famous mantra of we have the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya. We have the famous Vaishnava mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which is also a 12-syllabled mantra. So here he has, but that doesn't have 12 syllables. But the Vasudevaya has the 12 syllables. Here he has introduced a new mantra, as it were, Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Though then it's interesting, and I don't know why, at the end of the hymn, we sing 3 times, Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya, Namo Namaha. So it's not Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya, it's Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Shri being an honorific, being the blessed one, the blessed Ramakrishna. And again, Namo Namaha, again and again, we bow down, we bow down. I don't know if Swami Vivekananda also added these last 3 verses, or if it was added later by others. But Bhagavate, by the way, is the 4th case ending, the dative ending of Bhagavan. So Bhagavan becomes Bhagavate for the sake of, when we have Namaha, when we have this idea of worshipping, of bowing down, then the deity always gets the 4th case ending. So that's why it's Ramakrishnaya. It's not, we don't say Ramakrishna Namo Namaha, we say Ramakrishnaya Namo Namaha. The 4th case ending, that's a Sanskrit grammar. When you get into that, you'll understand that that's why in the puja, when we're always doing worship, we always say, Ete Gandha Pushpe, with this sandal paste, this flower touched with sandal paste, Shivaya Namaha, Ramakrishnaya Namaha, Rudraya Namaha, Kalikayai Namaha. So, Kalikayai, that all 4th case ending.
Some people do it Kalikaye, right? Is that right?
Kalikayai. Okay, yes, subtle differences in pronunciation, Sanskrit pronunciation. Okay, so then we have not quite finished, because at the very end of the mantra of the hymn, of course, comes the pranam mantra. Om sthapakaya dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. This was composed before the hymn. Swamiji composed this on the 6th February 1898. And there's a whole story about how he went to a devotee's home where they had installed a marble image of Sri Ramakrishna in their home shrine. And they begged Swami Vivekananda to come and consecrate the shrine. So he did, and he performed a worship service. And at the end, he bowed down to Sri Ramakrishna, chanting this. He composed it extempore at that moment. We see it's also in the 4th case ending, Sthapakaya cha dharmasya. Dharmasya, of dharma. You are the Sthapaka, the one who has established dharma, and you are the very embodiment of sarva dharma, of all dharmas, all spiritual paths, you can say, the very embodiment. And then here's the one which is raises questions. Avatara varishtaya, Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Avatara, incarnation of the divine in human form. Varishtaya, Varishtha, the best of avatars. Ramakrishnaya, O Ramakrishnaya, te, to you, our salutations. We bow down to you. Now, how could Swami Vivekananda call Sri Ramakrishna the best of avatars? Sri Ramakrishna himself used to say all paths lead to God, and hammered those who had the bigotry that our form of God is the best. And here Swami Vivekananda is calling Sri Ramakrishna the best of avatars. Are not avatars all one and the same? It doesn't. The divine incarnates again and again. So how can you say one is better than another? So there are several ways we can try to understand this. I wonder, should we take this up next time? It's almost like we can just touch on it now. One is that Swami Vivekananda had intense devotion for his guru, his own guru. So maybe he didn't intend a comparison between other manifestations of the divine and this one. It was just an expression of his devotion. And yet it does seem like he felt that Sri Ramakrishna is superior. Perhaps each successive avatara is superior, since the avatara typically embodies what was revealed before and adds something new. So each time the avatar comes, he builds, as it were, on his previous incarnation. Or Varishtha, not as a comparison, but just indicating excellence. Sri Ramakrishna was a manifestation of pure sattva, without any hint of rajas, without any hint of that fiery, that very turbulent activity or anything like that. Just pure peace and harmony. So in that sense, perhaps he is best. Swami Sridharananda has a very interesting talk which he used to give, which I heard possibly here or in one of our centers, where he suggests that this avatara Varishtha, you can take it also as, he compared it to the Upanishadic idea of the Brahmagnya Varishtha, the best knower of Brahman. Now, a knower of Brahman, if we know Brahman, we know Brahman. You can't really compare. A knower of Brahman is free, is identified with Brahman, and there's no comparison. One knower of Brahman and another knower of Brahman are equally liberated, are equally perfect in knowledge. But suppose, he said, suppose there's one Brahmagyani who sits in a cave and just rests in the glory of Brahman all the time, and some people bring some food outside the cave and he takes it and eats it, preserves his body a little bit. That's one Brahmagyani. Now suppose another Brahmagyani sits under a tree near a village, and the devotees come and they bring him some food and he blesses them and gives a few blessings. And suppose there's another Brahmagyani who walks into the village and he calls the people and tells them and explains to them how they too can attain to freedom, and gives them the teachings to bring them to Brahmagyana. Now, as far as Brahmagyanis, they're all equivalent, right? They have the full realization of Brahman. Yet, wouldn't we say that the one who went into the village to help others, to bring them also to Brahmagyana, wouldn't he be the best? So, like that, all avatars are equally avatars, but Sri Ramakrishna is the best in that sense because he has come in this age. Sri Ramakrishna himself used to say, the coins that were minted in the time of the Nawabs, the Muslim reign in India, you can't use those now. Now you have to use rupees. Whatever coins they had back then, they don't work now. So like that, the divine incarnates again and again to suit the need of the age. So in that sense, perhaps best for this age. So that's one idea. So we are out of time. We have covered the remaining 3 verses of this tremendous hymn, which really deserves to be contemplated. And we owe it to ourselves if we are singing this hymn every day, particularly if we sing this hymn every day. We owe it to ourselves to go through and understand the meaning word by word, so that when we're singing it, we can at the same time be reflecting on the meaning. And we can also take this hymn and memorize it. We can reflect within ourselves on the meaning slowly, on the words, and find it's a tremendous, powerful hymn of deep devotion, of seeking refuge in Sri Ramakrishna, of recognizing that we have no refuge but in the divine, and that attaining even a drop of that love, all our restlessness of mind, all our desires are stilled, and we find true peace and joy. Any questions, comments? Narayana? Okay. Katyayani. Let's have, okay.
So basically, the pronunciation of the mantras, I've heard that if you do it not the right way, it's like all the bija mantras, like ṛtam, and all that stuff. If you don't do it right, it can actually backfire and cause harm. Is that true?
That depends. It depends what your purpose is. If you're learning these mantras to attain worldly ends, then yes. But if we're not doing that. The scriptures have also some prescriptions for how to attain worldly ends, like more money, or even there are some, we almost wouldn't call them scriptures, but in some tantric texts about how to destroy your enemies using mantras. Yeah, if you mispronounce those mantras, you'll destroy yourself. But we are not chanting the mantras for those purposes. We're chanting the mantras to attain the divine. So there we say that God sees the heart and not the pronunciation.
So, for example, I'm chanting like Om Ham Hanumate Nama, right? It's like, it's for my own mental peace, for example. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I'm really pissed off at this guy. Like, you know, so it's like, it's not intentionally, but then it's in the back of my head while I'm doing the mantra, because that's how the mind is. But then, is that possible that that would be a negative thing? Like,
well, it depends if that, because when we chant the mantra, and if we've been doing it for some time, it generally brings more concentration of mind. So then we have to be careful. If the mind is getting concentrated, and it's getting concentrated on that negative thought also, then that can be actually harmful. So we want to be careful to let go of the negative thought when we notice it arising, and again bring our minds back to the mantra, back to the positive thoughts. Because right, when we chant the mantra, mind gets more concentrated. If we concentrate on anger, well then suddenly our minds can be filled with anger. That's not going to help us. So we need to be a little cautious.
it's difficult.
Well, nobody said it's easy, but it's possible.
Every time you do this class, I feel like I wish that I brought a little notebook so I could word by word have it written down. Do you have a cheat sheet?
Well, we can work on making one. This book has, one of the books, not this one, one of the books has a cheat sheet in it. It goes word by word and gives the meaning of each word. These books don't, but there's a third book that I didn't bring because I didn't like the translation that much, but it gives the word by word. Yeah, otherwise you have to learn a little Sanskrit. You're already learning Sanskrit.
Yes, I am. Actually, have another quick question about the Chandi. There's some parts of the Chandi that we don't chant, which I just found out. Why is that? We're
only chanting the 4 hymns. Chandi is a long text of 700 verses, like the Bhagavad Gita. It's a long text, and in the text there are 4 hymns are chanted by the gods to the Divine Mother. And those hymns are considered particularly auspicious, so we chant those 4 hymns only.
I see, but there are none that are bad, like you can't chant at night or something, like, or else it'll call out demons or something. I heard that once, that...
Oh, I don't follow all those things.
There's some rules, okay.
I don't follow those things. If the heart is in the right place, then that's enough. Yeah. So... Good. Well, I think we should wrap it up here. Shall we take just a moment of silence to reflect on what we've studied together? Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma mritangamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam Astu. From the unreal, lead us to the real. From darkness, lead us unto light. From death, lead us to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. for coming, giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you on this sacred hymn.